Profitable practices. Farm solutions for people, profit, and the planet on Real Agriculture is brought to you by Farm Credit Canada and RBC Royal Bank.
For Real Agriculture, I'm Kelvin Hepner. We are in southwest Manitoba in a wheat field near Deloraine, joined by Darren Maddess talking about his stripper header that he's been running on his combine over the last number of years. We're going to talk about both the economic and environmental benefits that he's seeing from running this technology at harvest. All right, joining us now, we have Darren Maddess here near the Deloraine, Manitoba area. And Darren, a stripper header, for those who haven't heard of a stripper header or are not familiar with the concept, how is a stripper header different from a conventional header that most combines would use in North America?
Well, yeah, it's quite different in a way that it lacks the reel and cutting knife, that it just has a drum with fingers on it that rotate upwards and into the back then to strip the seed out of the head, or in some cases it does strip the whole head off and throws that then into an auger that feeds it into the combine.
So how long have you been running a stripper header here on your farm?
I started running the stripper header in 2020. I'd been debating on it for a few years prior, and after the challenging harvest of 2019, I ended up deciding for sure we're going to one, because that year I realized if we had have had it, the gain in capacity would have prevented us from harvesting in snow. So it was almost an easy decision then.
Okay. Gain in capacity. Can you talk about the benefits, the reasons that you went to running a stripper header on your farm at harvest?
Well, yeah, the initial thought was I've been seeding with a disc drill, and I'd been told many times that disc drills and stripper headers should be sold together because of the big thing is preventing hairpinning. So that was one of my initial reasons for wanting the stripper header, and then the talk of gaining capacity, that my experience has been the 20 or even 30 to 50% gain in combine capacity, along with similar reduction in fuel use.
Okay. Reduced fuel use, increased capacity, that's in terms of threshing speed, even just how many acres you can cover in a day kind of thing?
Yeah, that I'm 30 to 50% faster moving across the field, that it's not uncommon to be doing 6+ miles an hour with this header on.
Okay. What about that fuel consumption? How would it compare with a conventional header where you're putting more of the plant through the combine and it's having to work harder?
Yeah, again, according to the monitor numbers, I've been right in that most of the time 30% less fuel than I was doing straight cut on a similar crop.
Okay. So we're, of course, standing in a wheat field here, Darren, but what type of scenarios are you running this header in on your farm?
I'm trying to use it in as many crops as I can, all cereals. Canola, I'm using it most of the time, not always, but if I have a good, nice stand of a good pod shatter variety, then I've had pretty good success using the stripper header. I have tried intercrops before too, where one of my favorite ones to strip in intercropping is an oat pea mixture. I have tried stripping straight peas, and it was doable, but not much better than straight cutting. Similar that there I'd go back to the straight header. But when I went to that oat pea mixture, it went through really nice with the stripper header.
Are you taking off both crops then at that time, or are you harvesting them separately?
That is both of them together. That they were both growing together, and combined together, then separated after.
Okay. You mentioned how stripper headers should be sold with a disc drill. Of course, prep for the next growing season always starts with combining the previous crop. What kind of considerations or lessons have you had to learn in terms of residue management and preparing a field where you've used this header for the next year?
Basically, this header has it prepared for the next year is what I'm finding. That, it's like one of the things always with the talk of straw management. Well, my straw is exactly where it was. That I don't have to worry about what a straw chopper's doing. My straw's spread exactly where it was, uniform across the field.
You just got to make sure you have the right drill, I guess, that it works to seed into this.
Yes, like I know there are some guys who do a little bit of seeding with a hoe drill, but in that case they are running wide row spacing, RTK normally to try and seed between the rows, but with the disc drill, it's, yeah, no problem seeding into it.
Okay. You talked about the efficiency at harvest, both from a fuel and acres per day kind of the gains there. What about from a soil perspective, protecting that soil, conserving moisture, some of those potential benefits in this part of the world?
Yeah, protecting the soil was another one of the thoughts. That's where the disc drill idea came along, and then through the people with the disc drills in the soil health part of the world was what got me into the stripper header then too. And yeah, some fields I go and I dig in the field, and when I pull back the residue from the year prior and just see what that soil looks like underneath there, that well-protected soil, it forms nice aggregates there, which the goal there is to improve infiltration and store more water.
Yeah. Do you think there would be a noticeable difference in terms of that soil armor in a field where a stripper header has been run versus a different zero-till scenario but a regular header?
I think so. I did have some comparison that first year, 2020, we ran 2 combines, one with a stripper and one with the straight header, and unfortunately, I didn't do a lot of checking, comparing our soil necessarily in the separate strips. The big thing everyone was always asking me was, well, what's your snow catch like? What's your moisture like? Well, unfortunately, that winter we had a couple inches of snow basically all winter, so it was the same amount in both. Since I had one winter where I had a soil probe in the ground over winter, and it was interesting in that field. The snow catch was so thick that it insulated the ground so well, the soil didn't actually freeze. Oh, wow. So it was the comment then that I was getting from neighbors watching the field was that my sloughs didn't have as much water in them, which I looked at it and went, well, I caught all your snow, so if I have less in my sloughs, obviously it had to have soaked in on the high ground.
Mm-hmm. One question I think I've heard from some farmers when it comes to stripper header scenarios, Darren, has to do with weed control and questions about how well that works, contacting the plant when you've got tall stubble, when you're wanting to do maybe a fall or pre-seed burn-off kind of scenario. What have you learned in terms of best practices for weed control in a stripper header field?
Well, in the spring situation, I know I was a little nervous, and I think we found as long as you keep your chemical rates and water volumes where you should have them, boom height's really about the only thing you're playing with differently. That probably keeping the boom a little higher than you normally would in the spring. Otherwise, our other experience with the stubble is that very first year we have less ground cover that does allow the weeds an opportunity to grow compared to well-covered soil, but it's part of getting into the system that the following year you have better soil cover than you started with, and then you start experiencing better weed control because of that ground cover.
All right. Final question then, Darren. Do you see increased adoption of stripper headers in this part of the world? Do you think there's more application available, potential for them in Western Canada?
Yeah, I think there's lots of potential. I know even when I was considering this one too, another deciding factor for me to get it, I was at a farm tour in North Dakota, and the farmer there was debating on getting one, and he said he'd talked to a dealer in Nebraska, and that dealer said, all my used ones are going north. Don't even ask me about moving on price, because I know I can sell them. So that kind of helped me to decide, yeah, I'm gonna get one. And yeah, I think I couldn't go back to not having it in my mind.
All right. Thanks for your time and your insight into your experience with your stripper header on your field and letting us interrupt your harvest here. The wind is blowing and the sun is shining. I'll let you get back to work here, Darren. Thank you.
All right, thank you.